President of the Asiatic Society, Professor Pramanik, Chief Guest of the occasion, Professor J.B. Bhattacharjee, Secretary, Dr. Satyabrat Chakraborty, Vice President, Dr. Chakraborty, members of the Council, and all those associated with Asiatic Society, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for inviting me to this occasion. Really wonderful to be here. It's great to be here because, number one, this is Vidyasagar Hall, Asiatic Society, established in 1784, Vidyasagar Hall. It was, after all, Ishwar Vidyasagar who introduced us to the life and works of William Jones through his Jivan Charit. And it was Vidyasagar who had placed the life and works of Sir William Jones alongside the works of Copernicus, Galileo, Sir Isaac Newton, Linnaeus, and others. Wonderful. We read this Jivan Charit when we were school children and came to know about Sir William Jones and also Dr. John Leyden. John Leyden, who came much later, but then he was also one of the brilliant minds of the time, very close to Lord Minto, the Governor General, and who had large the ambition to rival the works of William Jones. He said that one day, I'll accomplish something that Sir William Jones was incapable of doing. Anyway, as I said, it is great to be here, and thank you so much for the songs presented during the flag hoisting, and also Ananda Loke, Mongola Loke. Let me, please permit me to make one observation. During the last 5 decades or so, I had occasion to pass by this road several times, at least 100 times, because at one time I stayed there in the Assam house in the Little Russell Street. And every time I saw this building, somehow or the other, I remembered Jivanananda Das. I don't know why. Maybe because, please permit me to say, maybe because it was Jivanananda who wrote about Europe's discovery of India in his celebrated poem, Bonolotasen. It is all about Europe's discovery of India. It is because I read all these reports on the travels, whether of Dr. John Leyden or others. Okay, I was more or less convinced that Jivanananda wrote this about either the Asiatic Society or all those associated with the Asiatic Society in those days. Singhal Samudra theke nishither andhokare maloi sagore. When you read about the travels of Dr. John Leyden, who along with Lord Minto went to Batavia, Singhal Samudra theke nishither andhokare maloi sagore, and also, okay, 1000 বছর ধরে আমি পথ হাঁটিতেছি পৃথিবীর পথে. Please forgive me my pronunciation. 1000 বছর ধরে আমি পথ হাঁটিতেছি পৃথিবীর পথে, সিংহল সমুদ্র থেকে নিশীথের অন্ধকারে মালয় সাগরে. অনেক ঘুরেছি আমি বিম্বিসার অশোকের ধূসর জগতে. Prinsep, the General Secretary of Asiatic Society, wrote so much about the edicts of Ashoka. It was he who first deciphered a number of edicts of Ashoka. Bimbisar Ashoker ধূসর জগতে. সেখানে ছিলাম আমি আরো দূর অন্ধকারে বিদগ্ধ নগরী. আমি ক্লান্ত প্রাণে, চারিদিকে জীবনের সমুদ্র সফেন, আমার দুরন্ত শান্তি দিয়েছিল নাটোরের বনলতাসেন. চুল তার কবেকার অন্ধকার বিদিশার নিশা, মুখ তার সাবস্তির কারুকার্য, অতি দূর সমুদ্রের পর হাল ভেঙেছে নাবিক হারাইছে দিশা। সবুজ ঘাসের দেশ যখন চোখে দেখে দারুচিনি দ্বীপের ভেতর, তেমনি দেখেছি তার এই অন্ধকারে। বলেছে যে এতদিন কোথায় ছিলেন, পাখির নীড়ের মতো চোখ তুলে নাতুরের বনলত সেন। সমস্ত দিনের শেষে শিশিরের শব্দের মতন সন্ধ্যা আসে, দানা রৌদ্রের গন্ধ মুছে ফেলেছিল। পৃথিবীর সব রং নিভে গেলে পাণ্ডুলিপি করে আয়োজন। পৃথিবীর সব রং নিভে গেলে পাণ্ডুলিপি করে আয়োজন। Okay, these people traveled so much. For example, Dr. John Leyden going to Batavia, and he also died there because he visited a library where he was bitten by a particular kind of mosquito. And after 3 days, he breathed his last. He was very young, not even 1935 at the time. Singhol Samudra theke nishether andhokare Malay Sagore. And all these officials, after their day's walk, started writing about the activities of the day. Pandulipi kore ayojon. They prepared their manuscripts. And these manuscripts are now to be found in the colonial archives. Either here or in the National Library or in the Victoria Memorial, whatever. So please forgive me, my interpretation of Bonaloto Sen, it is about Europe's discovery of India. Like, for example, Sir William Jones discovered, quote unquote, discovered India. And I also pay my homage to Vidyasagar, who first introduced me to the works of Sir William Jones. My topic today, as you know, it is the knower and the known. It was almost arbitrarily that I gave this title to my lecture because there is a book by the philosopher Marjorie Green, The Knower and the Known. It is about the relationship between the subject and the object. The subject, who is the knower, and the object. The object here, for example, the knowers are the English officials, British officials, or the officials of the East India Company, and object was Assam. Okay, let me read out a few lines. The abstract is already there. I will just, this is something very simple. Till the end of the 18th century, Assam remained a land virtually unknown to European geography. All this is there in the abstract. Though trade between Assam and Bengal started in 1765 with Hugh Bailey, appointed as an agent of the Society of Trade in Gwalpara by the East India Company. Hugh Bailey and his 4 brothers, they started doing business there in Gwalpara because they were not allowed to enter mainland Assam. They had to stay there. Hugh Bailey, appointed as an agent of the Society of Trade in Gwalpara by the East India Company. The Bengal merchants were not allowed to enter mainland Assam, and they had to carry on their trade from the country's westernmost outposts. Surveyor James Rennell, as we all know, he was the father of Indian geography. Surveyor James Rennell's determined efforts to map this kingdom were thwarted in western Assam, and other prospective travelers, including Buchanan Hamilton, later he came to be known as Francis Hamilton, were stopped at Hadira Choki, the westernmost customs gate of Assam. No one was allowed to enter Assam because Assamese people were afraid of welcoming strangers, maybe for good reasons. Entry of strangers into Assam was banned by a royal edict, and measures were adopted to enforce it scrupulously following successive invasions or attempts at invasion from the west, Bengal and Delhi in particular, from the 13th century to the 17th century. It was through persuasion and bribery that a French official, Jean-Baptiste Chevalier, later to become governor of Chandannagar, managed to have entry into this land and even succeeded in having an audience with the king at Gorgaon, capital city of Assam. The opulence of gold mines, okay, gold was the prime attraction there. The opulence of gold mines in Assam, stirring his imagination, Chevalier appealed to the king to allow him to trade in gold, but in vain. He had to hurry back to Calcutta following disturbances there in 1757. It was in 1792 that the Assam Raja appealed to Governor General Cornwallis to help him curb a rising revolt against him by the Moamorias, who were helped by a large number of Barkandajas, hired soldiers from Bengal. Deputing Captain Wells to assist the Assam king, the Governor General observed that no pains should be spared to avail ourselves of so favorable an opportunity to obtain good surveys and to acquire every information that may be possible. Till now, no information was possible from Assam because Assam was a closed country. No one was allowed to enter Assam. The mandate was thus to know Assam as a land of desire. Incidentally, it was in the 90s, early 90s, that one American scholar wrote an article called "The Violence of Light in a Land of Desire." Anyway, I like the word desire because desire for the last 200 years or so, desire has been the key word. It was first Hegel, I think, who talked about desire, in contrast to Kant, who earlier had defined the human individual in terms of his thinking, capacity to think. I think, therefore I am. Hegel defined the human individual in terms of desire. He is a desiring animal. And desire came to be a key word in the subsequent centuries, where everyone started talking about desire. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the deadland, mixing mammalian desire. Or desire itself is movement, not in itself desirable, and so on and so forth. Lots of things that were there. Even Tagore participated in this kind of discourse. He also talked about desire. Vasana. Ami bohu vasana e pranpone chai, bonchito kore bachale more. Vasana jokhon bipolo dhulai, anga koriya abodhe bhulai, ohe pavitra, ohe anidra, rudra aluk. He also started talking about desire. So desire became the key word. Anyway, this was also a land of desire, and everyone started talking about desire. The first European historian of Assam was Dr. John Peter Wade, assistant surgeon, attached to Wells's mission, and the first surveyor, Thomas Wood, of the same expedition. John Peter Wade was also a very interesting man. He had to do diamond business. Somehow the Governor General sent him to Assam and he was not very happy. But later he thought that, okay, let me try this diamond business there in Assam. But later he was very much disappointed that diamond was not available there. There was only gold and gold in Assam. Anyway, as a member of Captain Wells's team in Assam, Wade had an opportunity to do extensive field work denied to outsiders earlier and access the valuable native archives of chronicles both in Thai and Assamese languages. His wrong-headed identification of Assamese as a dialect of the Bengalis. So it was first John Peter Wade who first said that Assam has two languages. One is Thai language, Bailung language. That was the language of the Ahoms who came to Assam in 1228, and they ruled for 600 years in Assam. So one is Bailung language, the other is Assamese. And he said that Assamese has some close affinity with Bengali, and it must be a dialect of Bengali. His wrong-headed identification of Assamese as a dialect of the Bengalis had later influenced the company government's decision in 1836 to impose Bengali as the language of the courts and the schools of Assam. Delton, in his note on the Mahapurushiya sect of Assamese Vaishnavism, published in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1851, wrongly found Chaitanya Deva's influence on the two great Assamese saints of the 15th and the 16th centuries. It was also in the name of affinities of language, quote unquote, that William Robinson, a Sirampur Baptist sent to Assam, assigned the mere dialectal status to the centuries-old Assamese language. These are examples of a center-periphery dialectics that marked a major component of Asiatic researches into Assam in the 19th century. Denied entry into the mainland Assam, the British tapped two sources of information and knowledge to begin with. The first was Muhammad Kazim's Alamgir Nama. Because the British didn't know anything about Assam, they wanted to know about it from other sources, particularly the Mughal sources. And the most important Mughal source was Alamgir Nama by Muhammad Kazim. The first was Muhammad Kazim's Alamgir Nama, translated into English from the original Persian by Henry Vansittart. Henry Vansittart, I think he was the successor to Lord Clyde. He was also Governor General of the Bengal Presidency, and published in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1800. It was the 1800 issue of the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal that published Vansittar's translation of Alamgir Nama. Kazim's position here is clear. This is something very interesting. Kazim's position here is clear. Assam is a land beautiful, rich in natural resources, but inhabited by a despicable lot of people. Some specimens of his rhetoric are worth recalling now. So since it is such an important text, I would like to read out a few lines from Muhammad Kazim's translation of this particular text. Number one is, Assam is an oblong figure. Please pay attention to the rhetoric itself, because as a student of literature, we are interested in the rhetoric of it all. Assam is an oblong figure. Its length is about 200 standard kos. Kos was the standard of measurement. I think it is also there in Kautilya's Arthashastra. I think one kos would be equal to 4,000 meters. Assam is an oblong figure. Its length is about 200 standard kos, and its base from the northern to the southern mountains, about 8 days journey. From Guwahati to Gurgaon are 75 standard courses. Okay, this is what he says about Assam. Then, okay, it is rich in flora and fauna. It has so many elephants. And it will be possible for us to take at least 500 elephants every year from Assam. So this is what is said in this particular text, Alamgir Nama. He is talking about a particular island. I think it is Majuli, the famous island. Between these rivers is an island well inhabited and in an excellent state of tillage. It contains a spacious, clear and pleasant country extending to the distance of 50 koses, again kos. The cultivated tract is bounded by a thick forest which harbors elephants, and where those animals may be caught, as well as in 400 or 500 forests of Assam. If there be occasion for them, 500 or 600 elephants may be procured in a year. So we will be able to take some 500 or 600 elephants from Assam every year. Across the Dhanes, that is Dhansiri River, which is the side of Gurgaon, is a wide, agreeable and level country which delights the heart of the beholder. So on every page you find the author praising the beauty of Assam. This is there, and it is rich in flora and fauna, rich in natural resources. Among the fruits which this country produces are mangoes, plantains, jackfruits, oranges, citrons, limes, pineapples, etc. Then sugarcane. The sugarcane excels in softness and sweetness, and is of three colors, red, black and white. There is ginger free from fibers. Then the silks are excellent. Assam silk, famous Assam silk that Alamgir Nama talks about. Then salt. Salt is a very precious and scarce commodity. It was not for nothing that salt came to be imported from Bengal in all these centuries. It is found at the bottom of some hills, but of a bitter and pungent quality. The Assam salt is of a bitter and pungent quality, which is why it had to be imported from Bengal. Then he talks about other things, pepper and areca nuts and so on and so forth. But please listen to it. It is about the people of Assam. The people of Assam are a base and unprincipled nation and have no fixed religion. They follow no rule but that of their own inclinations and make the approbation of their own vicious minds the test of the propriety of their actions. They do not adopt any mode of worship practiced either by heathens or Mohammedans, nor do they concur with any of the known sects which prevail among mankind. Unlike the pagans of Hindustan, they do not reject rituals which have been dressed by Muslims, and they abstain from no flesh except human. So they eat all kinds of things. They even eat animals that have died a natural death. But in consequence of not being used to the taste of ghee, they have such an antipathy to this article that if they discover the least smell of it in their food, they have no relish for them. They hate ghee, for example. They have a kind of distaste for ghee. The men have often 4 or 5 wives each and publicly buy, sell, or change them. They have their heads, beards, whiskers, etc. Their language has not the least affinity with that of Bengal. Okay, all this in this particular Mughal history, and these were the sources of information that the British had in those days. Of course, there is one interesting footnote here. This is by the translator himself. The preceding account of the Assamiyas, who are probably superior in all respects to the Mughals, exhibits a specimen of the black malignity and frantic intolerance with which it was usual in the reign of Aurangzeb to treat all those whom the crafty, cruel, and avaricious emperor was pleased to condemn as infidels and barbarians. Okay, I think this will do. I was saying that denied entry into the mainland Assam, the British tapped 2 sources of information and knowledge to begin with. The first was Muhammad Kazim's Alamgir Nama, translated into English from original Persian by Henry Vansittart. Henry Vansittart picked up Persian when he was in Madras. He stayed there for a long time and picked up Persian. Then the second source, they were the native sources, represented among others by Holiram Thekial Fukan, Jaggoram Kharghoria Fukan, and Moniram Devan. These were the 3 native sources of information. All of them representatives of the incipient middle class of the 19th century. Projecting Holiram Thekial Fukan's Assam Burundi, 1829, incidentally it was Professor Jyotindra Mohan Bhattacharjee, who was a Premchand Roychand scholar here in Calcutta University, and later he taught at Cotton College, Guwahati, also Guwahati University. He had edited Assam Burundi, which was published in 1829, and he found it in the Vidyasagar collection, incidentally. And in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1830, there was a long review of the book, reprinted from another particular journal, and that was written by Tarathan Chakraborty of the Brahmo Samaj. Now there is a story. This Jaggoram Kharghoria Fukan, he was very close to Ram Mohan Rai, and as such he was also very close to Tarathan Chakraborty, who wrote this long review. Anyway, the native sources of information were Holiram Thekial Fukan. He was a very important customs official at Hadira Choki. Then his brother Jaggoram Kharghoria Fukan and Moniram Devan, who was a man who first worked with the British, but later he was hanged by his neck. He was punished for his non-cooperation with the British. Anyway, Holiram Thekial Fukan's Assam Burundi has a minor information on Assam's past and present. It was one book which gave Assam a local habitation and a name in the world map. For a review of or references to this Burundi in German and French journals followed in the wake of Tarathan Chakraborty's digest of the book reprinted here. Holiram wrote 2 books, Assam Burundi in Bengali and Kamakha Jatra Paddhati in Sanskrit, etc. I'll just quote a few lines from Adam White's Miscellany on Holy Ram. Holy Ram stood high in the confidence of Mr. Scott, David Scott, and is a man of large property and extended information and possesses some literary celebrity. He has visited Bengal and Hindustan and has paid particular attention to the European system of jurisprudence and forms of government regarding which he entertains liberal opinions. He also possesses some knowledge of our arts and our sciences. Anyway, Holy Ram was one of the most important sources of information for the British officials. The key terms here are extended information and liberal opinions. While his Assam Burangi leaves one in no doubt about his knowledge of the social and political history of the land, his general administration, revenue system, topography, and the social customs and of the different castes, groups and communities, the rigid normative frame of his historical narrative or of the descriptions of indigenous social customs seems to be at odds with the liberal opinions he is said to have held. These liberal opinions, however, were articulated later in the face of a determined resistance in Bengal to the idea of women's education. Witness his letter published in Samachar Darpan, August 20, 1831. So all these three persons, Holiram Dekhial Fukan, his brother Jagoram Kharguria Fukan. Jagoram Kharguria Fukan was a member of the Brahmo Samaj. He helped Ram Mohan Ray a good deal. And he was also a man who knew several languages, Hindi, Hindustani, English, also Thai language, because once Francis Jenkins sent him to Upper Assam to decipher a particular kind of inscription. So all this is there in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal. It was there in a report sent to the Asiatic Society by Francis Jenkins, commissioner. So that was Jagoram Kharguria Fukan, and Moniram Dewan, a very interesting man who unfortunately died a tragic death in 1858, following 1857. He wrote an article on gold washing, native practice of gold washing in Assam. Incidentally, it was gold that seemed to have attracted all these people to Assam. Gold, and in fact, as I said, as students of literature, we take interest in the rhetoric of it all, and the significant trope in most of these reports is that of gold. Gold is there. Also in Chevalier's book, gold is the main attraction. For example, when he met the king at Gurgaon, he saw that the throne was almost plastered with gold. Gold was there everywhere. Gold was there, and gold was there in the river, particularly Subansiri. And it is not for nothing that conjectures have been made about a particular kind of gold mine in Upper Assam, near the mountains. Otherwise, why do you get, how do you get so much of gold dust in the rivers of Assam? So gold was the attraction. Holy Ram's brother Jagoram Kharguria Fukan was a friend of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. A staunch critic of Brahminical orthodoxy, he congratulated the government for enacting a legislation abolishing sati. This is there in Samachar Darpan, 9 July 1831. A man who delighted young Bengal in an unconventional lifestyle, Jagoram took active interest in the spread of education in Assam, Guwahati in particular. He contributed a sum of rupees 1,000 towards the establishment of a school in Guwahati in 1835. It was at the request of Francis Jenkins that Jagoram translated an important Ahom inscription, and the translated and glossed text was published in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, October-December 1837. The third important native person was Moniram Dewan, 1806 to 1858, whose native account of washing for gold in Assam, Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, July 1838, is a comprehensive work on an indigenous knowledge system that Francis Jenkins was interested in to promote trade in this precious metal. Rudolf Hornley, his decipherment of the Tezpur rock inscriptions, for me, this is one of the most important components of Asiatic researches into Assam. And it was what Matthew Arnold would particularly call the disinterested endeavor at knowing something, disinterested, because other people had their own interest. You had interest in either diamond or gold, but then Hornley's interest was okay, ancient history. It was in the best tradition of what the Germans call Altertumswissenschaft. It was in that tradition. Rudolf Hornle, he was a German, although he was born in Agra here. He had his education in Germany and imbibed that kind of spirit, the German academic ideal. So we owe a good deal to Hornle's decipherment of a number of inscriptions in Assam. Rudolf Hornle, 1841-1918, his decipherment of the Tezpur rock inscription of Harzer Burman. Harzer Burman ruled Assam in the 9th century, and this inscription is dated 830 AD. The Nagaon copperplate grant of Bala Burman III, consisting of 3 plates, 9th century. The Borgaon copperplate grant of Ratnapala, it is 1035 AD. The Swalkutsi copperplate grant of Ratnapala and the Guwahati copperplate grant of Indrapala, 1058 AD, forms a major contribution to the historiography of medieval Assam. One must also take note here of Pandit Kamalakanta Vidyalankara's decipherment of the Tezpur copperplate inscription of Bonamalla Burman. This is 854 AD of the Salastombo line, published in the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, volume 9, 1840. Bonamalla Burman ruled Assam from 835 to 865 AD. Hornle's studies, conducted in the tradition of German Altertumswissenschaft, inaugurated an era of epigraphical research that helped Edward Gate, Konaklal Borua, Padmanath Bhattacharjee, and others reconstruct the history of Assam on a firm scientific footing. There are also historical individuals. Joymoti Kuori, for example, there is a report on Joymoti Kuori by J.M. Foster of Natira. Events, Moamoria upheaval, this is Hene, published in Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1838. And sites, for example, there are reports on different sites, including Gorgaon, the capital city of Assam. This was published in 1872, that the Journal of the Asiatic Society often brought into relief through well-researched notes and articles. The imperial rhetoric of adventure travel marks various reports dealing either with the river Brahmaputra, Wilcox 1825, 1832, and Suvansiri, Delton 1845, or the hunt for resources like gold. There are several reports on gold hunt in the Journal of the Asiatic Society, because the only attraction there was gold and coal. Coal, Jenkins himself wrote a long report in the Journal of the Asiatic Society, 1838. Bruce wrote a long report, 1839. Petroleum bids, Hene, 1845. Black, cotton, and the Muga silk. The dominant trope in many of the reports is gold. And what a trader from Marwar told Jenkins during his Upper Assam tour, 1838, speaks as well for the fascination that the land held for the colonizers. This is Jenkins's Journal of Tour in Upper Assam, published in 1838. Not published, this is still there in manuscript form. And the manuscript, I think manuscript number 108 or 128, preserved in the Department of Historical and Antiquarian Studies, Assam. You have this particular reference to Jenkins's encounter with a trader from Marwar. Incidentally, he was the great-grandfather of the great cultural icon of Assam, Jyoti Prasad Agarwala. Anyway, this gentleman from Marwar said that I have been from one end of India to the other, and I never saw a country like this. The sand produces gold, the jungles gold, alluding to lac and muga silk, and the hills gold, meaning manjit, and the soil grows everything. Anyway, this is all that I have to say now, and there are lots to be explored, particularly, I had occasion to read only a few issues of the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal or Asiatic Researches. Lots of things are there, and it is ultimately between the relationship between the subject and the object. The subject trying to capture the object, Okay, it is all about that. Of course, there is nothing philosophical here, anything philosophical here, like Marjorie Green's book. Anyway, thank you so much again for inviting me for this oration. It is great to be here. It is great to be here in the Vidyasagar Hall. Great to be here in the Asiatic Society. Thank you so much.